Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast where you'll learn how to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit. No influencer status necessary. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and we are currently in a series where I'm bringing on some incredible guests to talk about unique ways to increase engagement and the results your summit brings to attendees. Today, in episode 119, we'll specifically be talking about how to incorporate quizzes into your summit, which I love doing, very highly recommend. To give you some background on the guest that's going to talk with us about this. She's a strategist for virtual summit speakers and hosts. Through the virtual summit search directories, she connects attendees with awesome summits as well as hosts with speakers and service providers to help make their summit even more amazing. The virtual summit search team also works with speakers to make the most of their summit presentations to grow their email list and get more sales. She's also been a speaker at Summit Fest Live and was my incredible co-host for Sell with the Summit Course Creator Edition. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk with Jenn Zellers. Welcome, Jenn. I'm so excited to have you here. Finally.
Ooh, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Very long overdue, but I'm glad we finally made it. Before we dive into all the quiz stuff, tell us a little bit about you and your business, and feel free to focus on whatever parts make the most sense, because I know you've got a lot going on.
Yeah. So Virtual Summit Search actually started with our mutual friend, Mariah, which is, I think, how we officially first got connected. Yeah. So fun little backstory there. We both had been speaking on summits, and we realized that we were getting frustrated because we kept finding great summits. We were like, man, that would have been really great to speak at or even just to attend. And it was always after the summit was over or had already started and wasn't accepting speakers. And we're like, we need to find a way to help people find summits and to help find speaking opportunities. So that was kind of how Virtual Summit Search was born. And that's kind of grown over the years. And now we have a speaker directory as well as a summit directory. And yeah, so it's been really fun. We've seen a lot of stuff happen through that, including Sell with a Summit, which we just wrapped up the podcaster edition. Krista and I hosted the course creator edition. So that's been really fun too. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I'm so obsessed with the Virtual Summit Search. I think I probably tell people to go at least once a day. Because, I'm always having hosts ask, where should I find a speaker for this? And it's like, just go to Virtual Summit Search, please. That's like the best place to go. Everyone needs to go there. So I'm so grateful that you made that, because it makes my life a whole lot easier too. So tell us a little bit about your experience with summits, how many you've hosted, who they're for, what they're about, just a little background.
Yeah, I've kind of lost track. I started speaking at summits back in 2015 when I launched a previous business. So yeah, it's been a long time. There's been a lot of things that have changed in summits. Back then, they were mostly live, which I hate. I'm not a fan of live, but it works for some people and that's great. I personally only do pre-recorded. And so yeah, that's kind of informed my own summit hosting. I've only ever done pre-recorded, and thank heaven, because I've had speakers who, don't show up. Mm-hmm. And that's always kind of one of the biggest fears for summit hosts, even if it's pre-recorded. Like I know for us, when we hosted the course creator edition of Sell with the Summit, we had some speakers who kind of ghosted at the last minute. Mm-hmm. And it hurts. It's not fun. But I love summits because they're just a really great way to connect with people. Like I know a lot of the speakers end up getting connected with each other. They make great friends through that. They make friends with the attendees. Like I've bought things from our speakers. Our speakers have worked with me in other capacities. Like it's just the most amazing community building experience. So yeah, that's the main reason I love summits personally. So
yeah, seriously, so powerful in so many ways. So talk to us about the benefits of including a quiz as part of your summit, to just kind of give people an overview of why they should care about this topic.
Yeah, so it may seem small, and it technically is, but it's a really powerful way to build that engagement from the very first thing. So when I do quizzes, I have them sign up for the summit first, and then in that initial email, that's when they get the quiz, because you don't want to put a barrier in front of people signing up for your summit. And a quiz can do that because it's an extra step. It's extra things they have to do. But if they're going to be engaged, that is the first way to get them engaged, because they're going to be finding out which sessions are going to be most helpful for them, which means they're more likely to attend, which means they're more likely to talk to people about it. And it just kind of builds from there. So it's pretty simple, but it can be really powerful.
Mm-hmm. So to clarify, you don't have your quiz like on the registration page, like that's how people are registering. Is it after they sign up?
Yep.
That's when they can see the quiz? Can they take it without registering? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I have it hidden, so they can't, I mean, they technically could if they somehow found it, but without doing some digging, they're not going to find it. So they get that link to the quiz in their initial welcome email to the summit. That's part of their onboarding, so to speak. And so that way, if they decide to take it, that's up to them. It's not required, but I frame it in a way that shows them the value of taking it so that they have incentive to do it. And it's not everybody, like it's not going to be, it never will be, but the people that do take that quiz, I have seen tend to be the ones that are more engaged in the Facebook group or whatever community is set up. So I'm always willing to put a little bit of extra time to create a quiz to get that extra engagement. So
yeah, I mean, it's such a fun addition. It's something fun for people to do. And if they don't think it's fun, cool, they can skip it. But it's such an easy way to get people doing something positive in interacting with your event from the very beginning. So I am all about this. Can you walk us through like how the quiz works? Like what's the strategy you put behind it to help make sure it's helping them through the summit?
Yeah. So the way that I build the quizzes is you kind of want to look at your sessions as buckets. So you kind of group the sessions together in a way that you can separate them into certain questions. So essentially I'll use the Sell with a Summit Course Creator Edition as an example, because that one was pretty straightforward. So I figured up which sessions were going to help people that were just getting started with courses, who'd had courses for a little while but wanted to grow them, and people that just wanted to get more out of their courses. So whether they'd been selling courses for less than a year, 1 to 3 years, or more than 3 years, I think is how I had set it up. And so if you can think of things in buckets like that, so that you can create the questions off of that, it will help you to go and give them blocks of sessions that they can attend. And so that way they don't get overwhelmed. They can pick, I would usually tell them, pick a couple from each of the buckets. And that way you don't get overwhelmed. You can only find the ones that are going to be relevant for you, but you can go back and watch them later if you get the all access pass and you've grown to the next level later on. So that kind of also gives you a chance to push the all access pass a little bit more too, which is always fun.
Yes. Oh my goodness, for sure. I love that. So you're breaking up, you're looking at all your presentations you have lined up for the summit and seeing kind of what natural categories they fall into, which I think for most of us, there is kind of a natural breakdown, whether it's, beginner, intermediate, advanced. For my designer summit, I might have like marketing strategy, client processes, managing your clients, design principles. Those are the kinds of categories I could use for that one. So it can look so many different ways. But then, like you said, I think it might look different for different hosts, what it might look like that you want your attendees to do. But, for you, if someone was a beginner, maybe you want them to, okay, you watch these beginner sessions. Don't worry about these advanced ones. For me, where I have mine broken down a little differently, I might be like, okay, you need to focus on finding clients and your onboarding process. So pick a couple in each of these categories or something like that. And you can really guide people to exactly what they need through this quiz. And it just takes so much pressure off of them not feeling like they need to watch every single session. Yes. But secretly, like you said, they still kind of want to. So your all access pass is totally still something they need. So I love that. That's so powerful. A question I know people are probably wondering is like, okay, I have these categories. I know I want my results to be, but how do I then kind of work backwards to come up with like the questions I'm going to ask to get them to those results? How do you go about making those questions?
Yeah. So for, again, using the Course Creator Edition of Sell with a Summit as an example, we had whether they'd participated in summits before and to what capacity. So they could figure out if they have never participated in summits before, they need an intro. So we'd send them to your Keys to a Money Making Summit session. So they could at least get an overview of what the heck is going on here with summits. Or if they had been an attendee, they're going to have a different perspective and experience than someone who's been a speaker or a host. And so that was how I took those buckets of the level summit experience and broke those down into a question. And then, like I said before, when it's how long have they been marketing a course online? If they've been marketing it less than a year, that's where they're at the beginner stage. 1 to 3 years was their intermediate, and 3 or more was the more advanced strategies. And then the other thing we had was that there were a few different goals they might have for their course launch. So if they wanted to go and have more community, if they wanted just to get better, like to go even further beyond their launch goals, or if their main goal was to build authority, there were different sessions that fit into those buckets as well. And so I try to keep it down to 3 questions just because it's not overwhelming, but it still gives them really good results. And you could go up to like 5, but I wouldn't go more than 5. And that also makes it easier on you, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. See, that was just like an aha moment for me because my quiz is definitely a little bit longer. Like one of my questions I'll have, okay, one of my buckets is landing clients. So one of my questions will be, how do you feel about landing clients? And the possible answers are like, oh, I got this. I've got clients lined up all day long. Like, oh, they kind of come and go, or where are the clients? I need them. And I kind of do that for each one. And then at the end, as kind of a tiebreaker, I ask something where like each answer corresponds to a result. Mm-hmm. It works, but also it's a lot more for them to go through and a lot more for me to figure out. So I love you giving us the permission to keep it simple if we want to. Yeah, I love that. And I bet it does increase the completion rates too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot more rare that people don't complete it than that they do. I think we had maybe 2 people that went through and didn't complete it versus everybody that did. So
yeah, that's super cool. Okay, so how do you make sure your attendees see it then? You said that you mention it in the initial welcome email you get. Is there anywhere else you kind of push them to take it?
Sometimes I'll throw it in, especially before the summit starts and like maybe the first couple days. But after that, it's giving them results that the session's already passed. So I'll throw it in with other emails like, hey, just in case you didn't take the quiz yet, here's the link again. Or I'll put it in a PS in some of those emails. But yeah, typically they're most likely to take it right after they've registered for the summit because they're excited and they're already engaged with you in at least that little way. And they've already said yes to coming to the summit. So they're more likely to say yes to taking the quiz. So if you pair it with another action that they can take so that they're getting those micro yeses, that tends to be where you see the most results from that.
Yeah, I love how simple that is. Put it into something they're already going to be doing. I can see it being a great fit in the day 1 email, kind of like you said. After that, there's going to be sessions that they can't watch anymore, but great call to action there. It could also work on a schedule page, maybe like if they're looking through the schedule, like, yes, oh my gosh, what do I do with all these?
Yeah, we do also put it on there usually.
Okay. Cool. I love that. So what tech do you use to put your quiz together?
So I usually use Interact. I've used other things. So I've used Thrive Quiz Builder. I've used Question Scout. And you could also use, what are they called now? Involve Me. I bought it when it was Brain Quiz. So there's a few different options that you can run through. It just depends on your tech stack, what works with your email marketing provider, how is it going to send you the results so that you can actually get them in there so you can get them the correct results and all that kind of stuff. So it really depends on your tech stack.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I use Interact myself and definitely like it. But like you said, there are
super
so many
simple
cool platforms out there. Something you just mentioned was like integrating with your email marketing platform. Do you require them to input their email to get the results, or can they just see them right on the page?
Yeah. So typically in order to get the results connected with their existing summit ticket, they need to input that. So when I'm creating the quiz, I make sure to mention, like, if you do not put in the same email address that you signed up for the summit ticket with, your results are not going to be as accurate as they should be, and you're going to get 2 summit emails. So just doing that, we very rarely have people that don't put in the same email address as long as you explain it in a way that still shows the benefit for them. So
yeah, I love that. So thank you so much for sharing all this. Like, I love the short and sweet, but also really powerful strategy that a quiz brings. So is there like a biggest takeaway you would want people to get from what we talked about today and how you can use a quiz in your summit?
Just finding ways to build the engagement is the biggest thing. If you keep building on, they said yes to the summit, they said yes to the quiz, they say yes to the Facebook group, they say yes to something else, and then they may say yes to the All Access Pass. And maybe then after that, they'll say yes to whatever your post-summit offer is too. So, because we definitely found, especially with the Course Creator Edition, that the folks who did all of those incremental steps were the ones who were most likely to sign up for the post-summit offer and be really excited about it and telling all their friends and inviting people to come to the summit. So the more you can use that as a step to getting them to say yes to the things that are really going to take them to the end result of where you want to take them, whether that's a summit, a post-summit offer that is going to take them to that next step that they're looking for, or the all access pass that is going to help them take maybe a smaller step, but at least a step towards that end goal that they have for themselves too. That's really where I see quizzes fitting into the equation.
I love the heck out of that. Thank you so much for all of this. Where can people go to learn more about you, what you offer, virtual summit search, all the things?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's virtualsummitsearch.com. Or if you want to check out any of the Sell with a Summit editions, it's sellwithasummit.com. So
do you still have a resource on creating a quiz for a summit?
Yes, there's a mini course that I have, and I've got walkthroughs for each of the different steps to create the quiz, as well as walkthroughs for the different platforms. So Interact, Thrive Quiz Builder, Question Scout, and Brand Quiz. Those are all the ones that I personally use and can give walkthroughs for. So
yes, awesome. Well, we will link to all that in the show notes, but thank you so much for being here today, Jenn.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we finally got to make this happen.
Yes, me too. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode. For show notes and resources mentioned, head to summitHostHangout.com/119. In the next episode, we'll be talking about how to create an all access pass that gets virtual summit attendees hitting buy now. So be sure to tune in for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit.